Hello and welcome everyone. Let's give a couple of minutes for all the participants to join. And meanwhile, let me recap that we will start with the talk. And during the talk, please feel free to share your questions in the Zoom chat, and I will be sometimes asking the questions to our speaker, whom I will introduce in a moment, during the talk, and we will address all the questions during the Q&A right after the talk. Then the Q&A and the talk will be recorded. Right now we are recording, that's why your microphones and cameras are switched off. However, after the Q&A session, I will stop the recording and invite everyone who likes to enable their microphones and cameras and engage in a discussion with our speaker. All right, I see that we are probably complete. So let's kick it off. Borrowing practices from different fields, bringing them into the field you're working on can sometimes be a game changer, or quite often, at least an eye-opener. Our today's speaker, Christoph Steinlehner, an experienced product design and strategy consultant, will talk today about Service Blueprint, the tool often used by the UX designers, and Christoph will explain how to apply this tool to the organizational design tasks. Christoph, I hand it over to you without further delay. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. So I will start my screen sharing because I prepared, of course, some slides that you also can see something and get like better idea about stuff. So yeah, today we want to talk about like service blueprints, but service blueprints used in a little bit of a special way for creating user-centric setups. But before diving in there, so hi, I'm Christoph. I go by the pronouns he and him. And in my usually daily work, I do design, but also product management. I do that now for like around 20 years already. And I'm working as a freelance consultant. So I'm consulting companies, organizations, but I also work like hands-on in interim positions and like really on the product also. So service blueprints, let's first start with a definition. This definition is for the Nielsen norming group, so the big guys who are defining more or less what UX design means. So they are writing definition. A service blueprint is a diagram that visualizes the relationships between different service components: people, props, physical or digital evidence, and processes that are directly tied to touch points in a specific customer journey. What that all means, we will go into that. But also a note there, Jean Shostak, she is the inventor of the service blueprints, and she already wrote in the beginning that such a blueprint gives managers a context within which to deal with the management and control of the process. So she already came from a management background. She published this article about service blueprints at HBR. And so it got transformed into the usual tool for UX design, but I want to bring it a little bit back to management. To illustrate that, I want to tell a story about my broken watch. So a few weeks ago, my watch was broken. It just didn't run anymore. And I contacted the support. So this watch was online bought. So my customer journey for that's the customer journey is always the backbone of the service blueprint. So my watch was broken. That's the first step. So I started to go to the website to find support, what to do about that. I found out I should email them. So I emailed the support with a description. So my watch wasn't working anymore, and the question, how do we handle that? So I got an answer from the support staff with instructions and a return label. Also on the return label, they asked me for the billing number. So I started to search and find the bill. Then some stuff happened, and then I got a mail that the package was received at the repair station. And then, of course, like there are several steps, but to keep this example short and easy, I will stop there. So as I said, so that's now the customer journey. That's what I experienced. What was the interaction from my side? But also we want to look at what's the evidence for that. So the evidence in the beginning was the watch, then was the website. I looked at the website, then I got some email, got some email. Then I had to look for the bill, and then the package arrived at the hardware support. So we had different physical or virtual things, which are like, what's the evidence? What can I touch, or what do I interact with? And then we look at the company side. So that's the side I have seen. And this is what I imagine. So I don't know anything about this company. I don't know how they are working, but to keep this example lively, I imagined what's happening there. So somebody created at some time a support section with saying, this is the mail contact for that. Then also I got the first thing which I got was an auto reply that they will contact me, and then the contact. Then the mail support team answered manually my mail with a repair template. So they said like, yeah, that's your problem. You have to send it back. This is probably, we have a template for that. And they sent that to me. Oh yeah. Also, my cat is sometimes coming by, so don't be irritated. Then, of course, they expected that I have the billing email, that this billing email is somewhere in my email archive probably. And then when the package arrived, they sent me probably also an automated generated mail from the hardware support state. So that's the front stage. It's called, that's what's happening on their side, which is visible to me. So I get like directly interaction from that. But also we have a backstage. So we always have like a line of visibility in these service blueprints. So if the front stage, that's everything the customer sees, but also internal stuff which is happening. So for example, for the website, there's somebody responsible to keep the website running and keeps it operational. Then also probably there's some automatic mail reply rules on a server or a system or a CRM or whatever, which is also like maintained, ran, and so on. Then they have some systems for like mail templates, probably a system to create a return label. And also probably I expect that they have some support ticket system that they can track me through their journey on their side. Then probably somebody had to scan the package, so an auto mail could be created. But that's it. So this one, I can imagine what's happening there. This is already internal stuff. I don't care how they are doing that or how they are proceeding with that. And the further away we go, the more abstract it's getting for me as a customer. So we have processes within the company, we have teams within the company, and probably also technical systems. So maybe there's an online support team, or I expect there is some. Then they have a website operations team, and maybe they run their website through Webflow. So they also pay for Webflow, they're dependent on Webflow, and so on. Then when looking at the email, probably just the online support team is responsible for that. Then when we talk about the return label, then probably also the online support team is handling that, but we also have the DHL return service. So it's another service, another system, and maybe the support ticket system, as I said. And they interacted with the bill. So somehow they also have to connect to the billing system. Maybe the accounting team has some responsibilities in this step. And then we go to the hardware team. Maybe the hardware support team is a totally different team than the online support team because they are mechanics. They don't deal with email that much, stuff like that. Also there, but probably they're also dependent on the same system, like the support ticket system. And also there for the mail, maybe the online support team is responsible for that, but maybe it's totally somebody else. So this thing is now a service blueprint. So now what we now see is that we can X-ray from the customer, so from what I experienced with which evidence, all the way through the support ticket system. That's quite abstract for the customer, but that's for you as a company, that's the important thing you are dealing with. That's what you are working with. That's what usually you people, teams you meet with. And sometimes you get lost about what the customer experiences. So that's about the service blueprint. But how to start, how to do this thing. So my approach is always to start simple and rough. So of course I could do this thing in way much more detail. It could be a lot of steps here in between. But if you're starting it, you can just start with like your usual customer journey, what's easy. And don't do that in never-ending workshops and initiatives. So don't say tomorrow, oh, let's do service blueprinting and then hide for 2 months and come out with the perfect service blueprint, because it's, for me, it's just like to create a conversation about that. So don't do it alone, start to do it together. And also, then what to do with it. So now it's getting interesting. So because as you see here, we have a lot of dependencies here. So we have dependencies between the online support team and the support ticket system, and also the DHL return system. We have dependencies on every step, and also we have cross dependencies throughout the steps. So the online support team here, you see, it's more or less guiding the whole time, but on certain steps also maybe another team who is driving the support ticket system is responsible. And then if you go deeper into that, you can look for complicated processes. So where is stuff happening? Where are bottlenecks? And my idea is there to don't start with a big reorg, but look really into what's happening there, what's happening between these teams, for example. Does it make sense that these are different teams? And you can identify then bottlenecks and then like work on small adjustments and see how it's better. So don't do one, start with the service blueprint, map everything down, and then say like, okay, we have to go into the big reorganization, because usually you will start to do small changes. And then if you see like, oh, we really have a problem, then like merge teams, change responsibilities, stuff like that. And the nice thing is that you can align then teams to the user journey. So you see, you have like one step in the user journey. You can then see like, does it make sense that like 15 teams are responsible for this step? Does it make sense that like you have a lot of interdependencies between these teams? Because if they have to deliver this one step, then probably they have to talk a lot about to each other, have systems who have to talk to each other and things like that. So also, if you look between the steps, you can see where dependencies are, where you have to create interfaces with teams. And interfaces with teams, I mean like regular meetings or like clear communications, but also on a technical side. Do different systems need APIs which are talking to each other? The other nice thing is you can create much more easier team missions and team visions. So if a team is really focusing, for example, on this stage where like the package is received and is getting into the hardware support. So the hardware team is doing all that, then it's totally clear what their step is. They don't have to care about how this package is coming in or how this package is I don't know, sent out afterwards, stuff like that. Also the question, when should you do it? So I would say start today, or better probably start tomorrow. So just take a pen and a paper or take some online whiteboarding software or whatever you feel like, and just write down your user story. Also, when you're in a team, just you're part of the user story. Also, of course, it's really convenient if you are in some kind of an org transformations, or especially if you're changing to cross-functional teams right now, if you're going into some agile transformation or whatever, it really makes sense to do this exercise to get like a clear connection to your customer journey and see like, how are we like organizing ourselves in regards to the customer. Of course, also if your org is growing a lot. So I see that a lot in startups. Startups are usually in the beginning a small team and then start to grow. And then teams have to be split up. And then like how to split these teams up. And this is really a good exercise to look like, okay, where are customer journeys? Where are key moments? Where can we divide teams to keep them small and actionable? And of course, I also use these techniques with companies with like a lot of dependencies between their teams. So I was in companies where there were like alignment meetings every second day and with 5 to 10 teams. So if this slows you down, it also makes really sense to look into that and look into how to redo your teams, or how to enable them to pay to the customer journey. So main takeaways for today is service blueprints are an X-ray, as I showed. So you see from what's internally happening to your end user, to your end customer. And also it gives you a great overview of the information flow, because the information is somewhere coming in and then going through all your teams, systems, whatever. There you can like also then enhance the service blueprints with errors, with like comments, where is information flow going, where are bottlenecks, stuff like that. And I really encourage you to use this tool not for its own sake, but to have discussions, to stand before this thing with 5 people, 10 people and say like, yeah, it's that what our customer journey is, and is that how we are working, and where are problems there, where are bottlenecks, how do we want to organize ourselves. So don't use them, please, please, please don't use them for a management on the drawing board. Don't like draw this thing and then redraw it and redraw it and redraw it till you have the perfect team set up in your mind, and then go out and reorg everything and don't have it a discussion with the teams, with middle management. Depends, of course, on your company size. And also don't get lost in your internals. So of course, you will go into this discussion about how the teams are working, how the teams are structured, but always look back to, what is the user expecting there? What are their needs, their pains? So this is the nice thing. You can always connect back and you see it like in one picture, what is happening for the user and what's happening internally. That's already it. Thank you very much. And now I think we will switch to the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Christoph. And we have a question from Ronnie. Could you please go deeper in the don't use service blueprint for management?
For a management on a drawing board, probably. You mean this one? Oh yeah, I just opened the chat so I see it. Yes. So I mean, of course, you should. For me, it's totally a tool for management, but not on a drawing board. So don't start to do a perfect setup in your mind and then go out and just say on Monday, like, yeah, now we have 20 new teams and you are in this team and you are in this team. Start to like do an iterative process and start to create small changes and then see what's happening. Also, because you will experience just by changing things, what actually is happening in your information flow, in your team flow, how teams are working together, things like that. Does this answer the question?
Thank you. Yes, and Christoph, could you please elaborate on the roles, like whom would you include in these conversations around service, in the discussion around service blueprint?
Yeah, so that of course heavily depends on your company size, but let's assume you're a mid-sized company and you have some middle management. And so you have a product, you have teams with product management and some middle management in between. So for me, it's then a conversation mostly in the beginning for the middle management, for like directors who are responsible for the team setups, and also the product managers or project managers, however you're staffed, who are leading the teams, because they know what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. They also hopefully know the most about the user and what they are responsible for. And then also bring this conversation, if you have already a picture, to the teams, so also that people there can chip in. And then, of course, it's heavily depends on how your management style is in the company, but of course also on a C-level this can be interesting. Depends on the size, but also on a C-level. So how do you want to structure your teams? How many teams do you have? Also, if you have some silos within your corporation, so which maybe needed to be broken up. So maybe, for example, if I take my example for a really large watch company, you have like the hardware guys and the user support guys.
Christoph, sorry for jumping in, but there
Yeah.
was also a follow-up question asking you to share some success stories. So maybe that particular case can be answered.
Yeah. So I did this a few months back with a quite old educational company in Germany. So they coming from a publisher side and doing now more and more digital stuff, of course. So doing educational for schools, digital stuff. Data problem that they wanted to roll out or like offer a new subscription service. So going away from one-time payment to like more a software as a service model. And the problem there was that they had like this whole licensing thing, how they track licenses, how they manage licenses was like all over the place. So a lot of teams had a lot of stakes in there and like different systems totally not connected to the user journey. So we mapped that together out, and then we saw the dependencies the first time. We saw where like a user interacts with different states in the company and how the different teams who are providing for that are totally unconnected to that. And then we started to like remodel their process, look into like who is working with systems and things like that.
Great, thank you. And we have a question. As I see it, it is about scoping your service blueprint, as there might be some complex services which are triggering other services, and the question is, what is reasonable? Can nested service blueprints be used? Is it possible? Is it reasonable? So basically, where to stop drilling down and how to limit the amount of detail that you're considering.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never did that or never thought of that. But yeah, of course, I think it makes sense. So you can do like a rough steps that you have some. So you can also think in like the marketing model, like the R model, with like acquisition and stuff like that. That's also what I often see in companies, that like you have an acquisition team who is really concentrating on how to bring people in, and also then retention is a different team. So because they are specializing then how to hold the people, how to keep them within the product. So yeah, I think to some extent it makes sense to do that hierarchically or like fractal. So you have some rough overview and then go deeper and deeper. But I myself never did it to this extent, and also don't have right now an idea how to visualize that. Maybe it's then just like different service blueprints who are saying like, yeah, okay, now this step is in more detail in another service blueprint. Yeah, but I think it would work. It's a little bit like if anybody knows flight levels for Kanban boards. It's also this model that you have like a really rough overview on the top and then detail on the bottom.
Thank you. And I think we have a related question from Steph. So what in the ideal world, what would you have one team per touch point? So what is the design principle that you have followed?
I don't think there's a perfect solution. So of course the perfect solution always is like one person can do everything. So because then it's everything internal, and so, but that's of course not possible for anything reasonable. But yeah, of course, so it's limiting teams and systems for each step. But it also depends, because if you, I also thought about this question, like looking at the Amazon product detail page. if it makes sense that one team is doing that. And I think not, because it has so much functionality that it's rather smart to have like a different team who is for the shopping cart part than for recommendations, than for comments. But having then connecting to like different use cases and customer journeys. So then you have like probably one page, but 10 teams are creating this page together, but they have a clear mission. So they are not crazy interdependent, because the shopping cart team doesn't care what the recommendation team is doing or what the comment team is doing.
Could you maybe share then the approach or rationale for finding this good enough setup?
By doing. There's no simple answer, I think, or I didn't find it yet. I think it's like connecting to the customer is the first important thing, the takeaway from service blueprints, and also visualizing what teams, systems there are for each steps and how the information flow is from one step to the next. Because if I have like on one step a lot of teams, then it's already, I see that there would be probably friction, and then I can like uncover this friction and can see like, does it make sense how it is right now? Is it already a perfect solution or a near perfect solution, or should I start to like remodel that or like shift responsibilities and stuff like that?
I see that there are more questions coming in, so I would suggest us to switch to stop the recording and switch to the discussion. Christoph, thank you very much for the presentation and for the elaborate answers. Let me stop the recording, and then I will invite everyone to join the discussion.